Okay, so in this video, I'm going to demonstrate how to use simple documents to code literature and data analysis. So, um, you can also do this kind of thing in Atlas.ti or NVivo or MaxQDA or qualitative software in general, but you can just as easily do it with normal documents. So, here we will use our data is going to be this journal article. So the method I'm going to show here can work for both literature review and data analysis. I'll only show um, the method with a journal article, but the same thing works. If this was an interview, qualitative interview, you could also do the same process. So there are two ways to do this. So first, I'll show you the method with headings, and second, I'll show you the method with linked documents. So say we are starting our literature review or our data analysis, we have this blank document. So what we do is we go, in this method, is we go to our data and start to analyze it. So in the context of literature, we start reading the article. So at the start of this article, the authors are talking about environmental justice and sustainability and whether these things can be interwoven with each other. That's basically all that's stated here is they're going to discuss how environmental justice and sustainability can be part of the same project. And then if we were to keep, so maybe that's not exactly what we were thinking of or what we really wanted to code about. But as we continue going, they have this other section, sustainability and environmental justice in theory, and they start talking about definitions of environmental justice. So let's just imagine that for the purposes of whatever project we were doing, we were interested in different definitions of environmental justice. So we might want, so in that context, we would want to code this part as being an example of a definition of environmental justice. They say we must clarify our definitions. As with sustainability, there are many definitions of environmental justice. The Commonwealth of Massachusetts uses the following definition in its policy. And they state the definition, and they say this definition will inform the arguments made throughout the article. So basically they're agreeing with it, so we want to include this in our data analysis. So what we would do is copy this and take it to our analysis document and include the quote here. We could also say where it was from. If we had a, Sotero or Mendeley or something, we could insert the citation that way, or we can just put it in by looking at the article. The page number, like that. So now we have the quote in this document. And if we're using the headings method, we can say, okay, so this is environmental justice or definitions of environmental justice. So the headings for a Word document are located up here. So since we don't exactly know what the structure is going to look like of our coding scheme for now, we can just put it as a first level heading. And we can customize these headings however we want. I'm using the web-based version of Microsoft Word here. There are a bit more options if you use the desktop version, in the sense that you can right-click and modify this directly. In the web version, you just have to modify this manually. So say we wanted this to be smaller and bolded and not blue. Then we could do that, go up here, and just say update, and now the heading has that format. So you might have to clean up the quote a little. One of the reasons this quote didn't work so well is that I was just copying from a a web-based document just to make this video more straightforward. But if you were copying from a more advanced PDF reader, even a more advanced web PDF reader than just this random one that opened when I download the article, it would come in with less errors. Okay, so now we have this, right? So let's imagine if we were going on and reading other articles, we could find other definitions of environmental justice, and then we could have different authors with their different definitions here. And so this is not the only thing that we would likely be coding. So if we are going to continue on reading, we would, I'm sure, find other parts of this that we would want to code in other ways. So so here they're also talking about the definitions of sustainability and the different definitions. And here they give their definition of sustainability. And so we might want to take this and go back here and say, okay, so we also have definitions of sustainability and put this in. I'm copying and pasting with a app called Paste. It just allows you to save the different things you have pasted and allows you to paste them in plain text, which is very helpful. Okay. There are a lot of different programs you can use for pasting things in nicely. Okay, so then we have our definition of sustainability. And anyway, we could go on and just whatever. It doesn't have to be definitions. It can be anything. So here's this nice figure about how you can think about economics, social equity, and environmental protection coming together and being interwoven. So, you know, we could also just take a screenshot of this if we wanted to and say interweaving like justice and sustainability, something like that. Add this heading in and put the picture that we just took and take the citation, put it in, change the page number. So, and then we could see this. I want to add a page break just to keep it cleaner looking. Okay. So anyway, you can put any theme you want, right? And then as people talk about interweaving justice and sustainability in this and other articles, you would put those different things, and then you would eventually have this database of codes. So this is in qualitative analysis jargon. These headings are codes, and then you would have different people talking about that. And then over time, you would basically have a literature review written for you with, you know, the heading already there. If you had a section of your literature review called definitions of environmental justice, you would have these different definitions, and you could pick out themes in those different definitions and then write your literature review. So it's worth noting here that you should also be thinking about nesting these different things. So what we might eventually do, we might have these definitions and a bunch of other definitions, and then just realize we wanted a heading called definitions. So we could make that heading one and make the other ones in here heading 2. I want to just, oops, I might want to just change the formatting of that. Maybe we will keep it blue though to clearly distinguish it. And okay. So we could make the different definitions heading 2. So I don't know if I would exactly structure it this way. This is just for purposes of example. But you could have definitions, and then you could have your different definitions in this category. And then that could be a way you structure this document. Interweaving justice and sustainability is not a definition, so we wouldn't put it in that subcategory. So, and even within this, so we might have definitions of environmental justice, we have them all listed, and then we might want to pull out themes from the definitions. So I don't have more than one definition, so this will be, you know, pretty preliminary, but you can look at this definition and say, people have a right to be protected from environmental pollution and enjoy a clean and healthful environment. So just there, we could see like that there are different parts of environmental justice definitions. So within these definitions, sometimes they talk about um, prevention of harm and also the, I don't know, provision of well-being or goods. So there are these two aspects. So this could be a third level heading that we add here. And so we could say that those are two of the sub-themes within the definitions of environmental justice. So we could copy and paste those people who actually talk about that. And then this would really be if we were going to do a literature review of definitions of environmental justice, these could be our categories that then appear. So we would have prevention of harm. We could have other quotes here from other sources talking about the prevention of harm and how that's important. So I'm saying that's because they're saying they have the right to be protected from environmental pollution. So you could even highlight that to make sure people know that's why it's in this category. If you're working on a team or just you later, you will find it helpful to have something highlighted so that you remember why it's there. And then for provision of well-being, I was looking at this part where they say enjoy a clean and healthful environment. So you could highlight that here. So that's how this method works. You have these headings, and then you have subheadings and subheadings, and then it becomes a coding structure. So we could do the same thing, but use a link method. So in the linking method, so that would be a completely different set of uh, codes, basically. So we can just delete this all. Okay. If we were doing the linking method, so this would rely on the links between different documents. So this is facilitated by Google Docs or Word Online, where you can link to different documents. You can also do that offline, but it's a little trickier. So in this method, we could say, okay, one of our codes is the definitions of environmental justice, right? So instead of making a heading, we would just make a different document. So we would take this title, go to a new document, put this title there, and then click share, copy the link to this document. Usually this takes half a second, so of course it needs to take forever when making a video. Oh my goodness. All right, let's try this again. All right, so we have this document. There it is. So we copy that link, go over here. Oh, sorry, I should say more carefully what I'm doing. Okay, so we copy this. You go, at least on an Apple device, it's Command K, or I think maybe on PC, it's Control K. So you do that keyboard shortcut, and this dialog comes up. So that's Control or Command K. You put the link into that document, you click Insert, or just Enter, and then this is now the coding structure, at least that this level of the coding structure. So then when we wanted to know about definitions of environmental justice, we would click the link instead of just look under the heading. So I really like this. So I don't know why it keeps defaulting to dark mode, but okay. So I really like the linking method. I think it works really well as an individual. When you're working on a group project, it might be better to just work on one big document. Okay, so in this context, we do the same thing. We would go find that definition of environmental justice. And we would go here. We would just copy and paste it, just like before. I won't clean up the quote this time, but anyway. So that would be there. And then if we wanted to do a sustainability one, we would also just put a new link here. Oops. Also make a new document, put a link, go to the new document, not this one, the one that we would call definitions of sustainability. Put that new sustainability one. I think you get the idea. So then if you wanted to have nested documents just like that, so if we wanted to have these definitions here all there, then we want to have subthemes, what we would do here is just have another category called prevention of harm and provision of well-being or good. And just like this, go make a new document, go to that new document, get the link, put the link here for prevention of harm. And anyway, you can make that linked structure of documents. So this method is kind of like a big concept map, but it's this sort of first-person concept map where you just have these links to different documents. So those are the two methods for literature and data analysis. So it'd be the exact same thing if there was an interview. You just read a bunch of different interviews, and instead of definitions of environmental justice, you will have people talking about whatever you're interested in. You can make a coding structure and then either do the linking method or the headings method, and it would work the same way.